Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast, and what do you know, it has truly been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 48 on Sunday the 13th of June 2021. As always, I'm joined by the official P3 nominated and approved Xbox Hall of Famer and #1 challenger to the mantle of the greatest Xbox RPG player in the world, Swinny.
I'm about to fall asleep.
And the game-loving, grind-hating, pretend-to-quit coffee-drinking but continues to drink coffee, gamer, anti-gamer, and slightly, ever so slightly, interrupter-in-chief, Mike.
Hello, I didn't interrupt that time, and I'm having a hot chocolate with a little bit of coffee in it.
In this week's show, Elden Ring, finally, Woo! We have a trailer, we have some news from E3 and Summer Games Fest. The latest Battlefield game is finally revealed, and our impressions of Ratchet Clank and Game Builder Garage. As always, if you want to check us out, look at us at Bigwig Pod on your social feeds. And we've got a quick plug. So we're going to do our first live stream of reaction. So #1, the Xbox plus Bethesda E3 live stream, and the Nintendo Direct live stream for E3. So yes, big effort from us.
Join us.
Waking up at 3 a.m. and 2 a.m. our time locally. What is it in America? It's like 9 a.m. or something like that. Or no, it's like in the middle of the day. It's a fantastic time to
you can just watch them at work. It's brilliant.
But before we get into this monolith of an episode, it's going to be mammoth. Swinny, you have a correction?
Yes, it's a correction. I didn't want to put the details in the run sheet because
you didn't want to blast people early. I know.
No, it's the most unfortunate type of correction. It's the correction where I have to say I said something wrong and integot said something right.
They're the worst corrections.
When we were talking about Smash Brothers reveals, character reveals for Smash 4, I corrected incorrectly that integot said that Bayonetta was the last DLC character. So Bayonetta and Corrin were announced in the same Direct and they were released on the same day. But because Bayonetta's trailer was at the end of the Direct, integot is the winner.
Money.
I was so confident in that correction. And when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, God damn it.
By the way, there was money flying on the screen if you're listening to this and you're not seeing it.
I was on the money. This is truly a blessed day. We have some great announcements, and Swinny was wrong again. You've been wrong a few times in the last few weeks, Swinny.
Well, I'm the only one that tends to listen back to everything we say, so
I'm always wrong, so
I feel that I am comfortable enough to call it out when I am wrong.
Or barely. You didn't admit to your defeat on that baseball game a few weeks ago when you called it, like, what did you call it, 1.000 or something like that?
Let's not talk about that.
Let's move on. Okay.
It's very busy week.
Yes, let's get on with it. So, updates. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is now available with the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions, free upgrade for last-gen
You gotta play
owners.
it, you gotta grab it, you gotta play it. It's really good.
And with Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, that is now out, the upgrade. So the way it works is it's really confusing. If you have bought the game, you get a free upgrade to the PS5 version. If you have got it through PS Plus, you cannot upgrade it. If you are from the PS4 version, you can then, and you've bought it, you can upgrade to the PS5 version and you can buy the Yuffie DLC. I think it's called Intermission. And it's like about $20 US. And then that's equivalent to the PS5 version. So you can actually right now still buy a cheap copy of Final Fantasy VII for PS4, get the free update, and then buy the DLC. And it's far cheaper than buying the PS5 version, which has everything included.
Way cheaper. Tell us how much it is.
Well,
are we going to wait for the bargain
bin?
bin?
Yeah, we'll wait for the bargain bin. We'll wait for the money, money segment. In about 3 hours from now.
We got to give people something to look forward
to. A teaser.
A little teaser.
So yeah, we're well in the depths of Summer Games Fest /E3. Xbox and Bethesda is going to be tonight our time, and Square Enix. Lots of announcements are coming through. Do we want to do a quick roundup on what we've been playing, Swinny?
Yeah, so I've wrapped up Citizens of Space, as I said last week, and I'm not a big fan. Got a bit better. Once again, neat ideas, rough execution, just don't try to do too much. The only other game I've been playing this week, but I played quite a bit of it, was actually Borderlands 2. So
I saw you playing that, by the way.
Well, and I kept, annoying you guys by just constantly saying how I was still farming the same thing for hours and hours and hours. But basically, I had the final DLC to wrap up.
I was going to say, why are you playing that again?
Commander Lilith and the Fight for Sanctuary. So that DLC was announced at the same event that Borderlands 3 was, and which means it was announced 7 years after Borderlands 2 actually came out.
Wow.
But it was only available for the PC and Handsome Collection versions. The DLC was free for a month, and it's actually a pretty good little DLC. Nothing too special. Borderlands DLC is actually generally very fantastic, but this was kind of a free thing that they eventually did charge for. So, but yeah, my gear was pretty crappy, so I farmed a lot to get stuff good enough to kill the raid boss in that Hatterax the Invincible. So that's been my week of games.
How about you, Mikey?
Very cool. Not a lot this week. So obviously Game Builder Garage, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Dabbled in it yesterday because it just came out. And just a little bit of Trine. And contrary to what Swinny and what seems to be the popular opinion on the internet, I actually like number 3 more than number 2.
That was not my opinion. I was just stating the internet.
And by the way, the internet's opinion and Swinny's opinion may be one of the most divergent opinions.
Usually is, yeah.
I've never played a single Trine game, so I was just I just stated developers publicly apologized for it.
It's weird. I don't know why. I wonder why. I'm going to look into it. In any case, I seem to be enjoying number 3 more than number 2.
I like you talk about you want to look into it. It's almost like Mike's Investigations. It could be a new segment. Mike's Deep Dive. For me, so yes, I've been playing...
Wait, no one asked you what you've been playing.
That's okay.
What have you been playing?
Game Builder Garage as well. So we'll cover that later. Ratchet and Clank. So I don't know, about 20% the way through that game. Picross as always. And then I actually got and played Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. So that was part of the PS5 Plus free games.
Yeah.
Look, that's actually a really cool game. Like I usually play more like the Street Fighters and the Smash Brother type fighting games, but those 3D style ones, like almost like Tekken as well, I'm really keen to pick one of them up, but I do find I need someone to play against. And because, we have console wars on this show, like I'm a PlayStation boy, Swinny's a Xbox boy. I don't think there's any crossplay on these types of games, so
and I just don't play fighting games.
It's not even out on Xbox. So.
No, that game's not. But Tekken is Tekken. I thought Tekken 7's out on both platforms.
Yeah.
But there's no crossplay, right?
No.
Yeah, so it sucks. I hate that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I'll cover some of the other stuff later in the impressions.
Nice.
All right. Well, why don't we jump into our first headliner? Battlefield 2042 has been revealed. I thought a very, very cool trailer. So it's coming out on the 22nd of October, 2021 for PC, last gen, this gen, not for Switch, obviously. And it's following up from Battlefield 5, which was from 2018. Now, you guys are way more familiar with Battlefield. What do you think of the setting, the trailer, and are you going to dive into this game, you reckon?
Well, I'm definitely keen as a lapsed Battlefield fan. I remember playing the original 1942 or whatever it was. At our friend's place, Mike. We were doing like LAN parties and stuff with that. Yeah. That was really, really cool.
Didn't we get copies from Domino's or something, or Pizza Hut?
I'm not sure, but I just remember
what do you mean?
They did. They were giving out free games. Yeah. I still have the discs. With every pizza.
Awesome.
I just remember, even though there was only a small group of us, like it was just just fun to mess around a Wake Island in the original. And then when, I was to skip forward a few games, Battlefield 3 to me was a phenomenon. When that game came out, it kind of really, really turned the tides. And I played that game so much. We all played it so much. And I lapsed after that. I didn't get big into Battlefield 4. I wasn't a fan of the maps, even though it was very similar to Battlefield 3 in many ways. And I essentially didn't try Battlefield 1 or Battlefield V or 5 or whatever. So I'm keen to get into this. I think the setting looks really, really cool. I'm very interested to see gameplay, even though obviously you can make an assumption what it's going to look and play like. I just want to see how it looks, basically.
Yeah, and we're going to have the gameplay reveal at the show tonight, actually, that we'll be live reacting to. But I actually love that they've gone into the future. I'm kind of sick of World War One, World War Two, kind of like almost anything prior. I think if they did like Iraq or Afghanistan, that'd be interesting to me, but I could understand why they wouldn't because it's a hot button political issue. So I'm so glad that they've placed it into the future. And also, it feels very campy in a good way to me. I don't know if it feels like that to you guys.
Campy.
Oh, it's super campy. Like the trailer is ridiculous.
It's
like it's
awesome. I loved it.
it's all the only in Battlefield moments, like the ejecting out of a plane to then RPG another plane. Like these are real stuff that
so
clips
cool.
that people made, and it became like this thing that across the community. But you mentioned like Iraq and stuff. Like Battlefield 3 was pretty close to, obviously not in exact setting, but I mean
Well, set in the modern times, so
yeah,
like
it was
Middle
basically
East, yeah.
it was
Some of
like
that stuff,
the equivalent of what you'd think of a modern combat. But I mean, this is not the first time the series has gone into the future. I mean, they had 2142, which was a bit divisive at the time, but this is obviously not that far fetched.
the near future.
So it looks cool.
I mean, it looked like the F-22 Raptor or something, or a similar kind of plane. I don't know if it was the actual F-22 in that trailer. The one where he jumped out and RPG'd the other. The one that's showing on the screen right now, that one.
Are you expecting me to say yes or no on
No,
that one?
Well, I don't know. Anyway,
Not
so
aviation
that's a current plane. Look, echoing exactly the same thoughts as you, Swinny. I remember fondly playing it, and I remember having that LAN party and how cool that was with Wake Island. And I remember playing with I'm going to do a shout out to our friend Lee Abio, who I played quite a bit of Battlefield with. We're squad mates, always owning the maps. It was really good. But yeah, likewise, I kind of stopped at 5 and 1. Not because they weren't good games or anything. I just had other things, unfortunately, that got in the way of being able to do that. But I am looking forward to this one. I think it looks really fun.
No, I was just there was a couple of things I wanted to mention, but if you want to just finish off.
No, I was just going to quickly say what I found really interesting is that first of all, there's no single-player campaign. I actually enjoyed the single-player campaigns. They were pretty epic. Some of that stuff was really cool. And no Battle Royale mode, which is fascinating because at the very start of the trailer, you see all the people parachuting down. That looks like a typical Battle Royale parachuting scene. So it's quite interesting that they said there's not going to be any of that. And I think I don't know, did it not work very well with COD? Were people not happy with it? I thought Warzone
that's huge,
was pretty huge. Exactly. Yeah, so I'm surprised they haven't done that.
I think the reason is because they have done that. They did Firestorm, and that didn't set the world on fire. Which is not a pun, by the way. So I think they just wanted to differentiate themselves a bit from COD and focus on other stuff. But the stuff I want to call out before we potentially move on, I don't know if you've got much more to say, but is obviously they're really focusing on the weather elements in this, which could potentially just be related to certain modes. So they've got a mode called Hazard Zone. Battlefield's always been really cool when it has included elements that essentially changes the level. So I can't remember the exact map, but Battlefield 4 had a map where you could essentially flood the entire map, and it just completely changes, obviously, the terrain and everything and the options there. So that's really cool. The thing that I'm not sold on, but we'll see how it plays out, was the fact that they're going to this specialist system. So rather than having the classic Battlefield class system, they're essentially going closer to, like almost like hero classes in a way. And I think COD's done this before as well, where it's like specialist characters, siege like operators.
Sounds like Rainbow Six.
Yeah,
that
have munitions abilities and traits and stuff, which is not too far removed from the class system. But we'll see whether or not I think that's been the biggest sore point for most people around this reveal. But it could be for the better. We don't know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that I want to know about, and I hope they reveal it tonight, is what are they doing with cross-play, cross-platform, how that's all going to work. Because it's quite interesting that they're saying that on current-gen consoles and PC, they're going to have 128-player matches, but on older consoles, it's going to be 64. So I kind of wonder, are we going to get a scenario where there's because typically you do not want to mix PC and console players because you got keyboard and mouse, which is the superior control method, versus controllers. you don't want to mix those teams together because that's unfair. Like the PC players are obviously better. Are we going to get a scenario where it's going to be broken down like this? PC, Xbox Series X, and PS5 in one shared cross-platform universe, and then old gen, so like PS4 and Xbox One X on the cross-platform. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's 3 buckets. Because how else could it work if it's 64 players on old gen?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The only other thing is, I mean, there's going to be modes where they aren't going to have 128 players.
Yeah,
they do that all the time. They add like modes that are smaller groups, things like that. So you have potential to potentially do crossplay with that stuff. Potentially. There we go. That's
it. Just be interesting.
Great use of English there.
If it's like you can crossplay with Xbox people, but not friends who are on PlayStation 4 who can't buy a PS5. Like that would be a weird situation if that does occur. But yeah, we'll see. I think that's going to be really critical for me because I feel like this game to me is not that interesting if I'm not playing with you guys. But if you guys jump on it and I could play, and even if it means I have to get it on PS5 rather than PC because you guys have got it on Xbox, I'll probably end up doing that. But yeah, I'm really interested in where that lands. All right, to the big one, boys. Elden Ring.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so there was an epic new trailer and release date, thank God. That was released, and we have more details.
Thank God it's next year.
Well, so just some context for the show. Wow. Swinny and I both had this as our number one anticipated game for this year. I think the fact that it's coming out on the 21st of Jan 2021, we were off, but like not by far. It's 21 days. So it was in that realistic universe that it could have been released this year. I'm sure they would have wanted it to be released this year, even if it was in December, just for the Christmas sales. But yeah,
but let it incubate. And look, I speak from a very selfish perspective, which is I've made myself that stupid thing where I can't buy any more games for the remainder of the year.
Oh, yeah,
I know I'm on a gaming podcast and I'm not doing that. But dear listeners, I have a massive backlog that I'll be able to play, so don't worry, I'm fine. So because of that, for purely selfish reasons, thank God it's coming next year. I don't have to worry about it because this would have broken my whole thing.
I love how selfish you are that you are happy that everyone else, fuck them. They can play the fucking game next year.
That's not true. Look, I wish it came earlier for everyone. But hey, at least, I'm hoping that means more time in the incubator, more time in the oven, more time to polish it and make sure everything's really good.
And some of the other details are that it's coming to like simultaneously, which is awesome. PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S on the 21st of Jan. I have to say, boys, I don't know about you. Like this is only the second time I've watched the trailer. I almost don't really want to know much more about this game. Now that it's here's the date, I'm almost not trying to dive into it too much and understand and pick things apart and sort of, really try to get my head around how it's all going to work. How about you, Swinny?
I do not want to know anymore.
Yeah, so you're on the same page.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm an idiot and I watched
so for anybody that has only seen this trailer when it showed during Summer Games Fest, but is interested in Elden Ring, I really recommend going and watching the proper version on the Bandai Namco channel because it looks a lot crisper.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's a much better representation of what the game looks like visually. So just check it out there a second time. I think that it really can see a lot more details and in the visuals and everything. So yeah, this is awesome. We knew it was going to happen at some point during this week, and it makes sense that it's Keighley, that's kind of he's had so much pressure. It's ridiculous, the gaming community's relationship with bloody Jeff Keighley. I feel sorry for him sometimes. They're putting him in prison because he hasn't, released the Elden Ring trailer or whatever. But yeah, look, this obviously looks fantastic. As I said, don't want to know much more. But they did show off quite a bit, which is great.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the features.
Well, just before, because you just mentioned Keighley. Sorry, Mike, and I'll go back to you. Yeah. But I feel like Jeff Keighley has put his big, fat, veiny aubergine straight on the table to E3 and just gone, look, boys, we've got Elden Ring. What do you guys have? I think that's a huge coup for Jeff Keighley. And I actually feel a bit bad for him because even in enthusiasts, let's just say, like we're enthusiasts, right? We're not media. Like even in the enthusiast circle, people are describing this as part of like E3. I'm like, dude, this is like his little summer games fest. Like, give the guy some credit, It's
Well, you still can't. I think that people still associate him with E3 a little bit.
sure.
But it's really weird because you watch Ubisoft Forward and then the stream ends and Jeff Keighley's straight there. And that was an E3 stream. So he's kind of like interwoven into even the official stuff.
Cannot escape.
It is a bit of a mess. Let's be real. Like, I feel like even if you go to the E3 site, it doesn't have like links to go here. This is where to watch it. These are the exact links. Because I hate getting spoilers. Like if you jump on YouTube or something and it's like, here's all the spoilers for all these games that are coming out. And I'm like, no, I want to watch the actual sort of like stream again, like the VOD for it. So, but yeah, Mike.
But even this, I feel like I don't know. I almost regret watching this. And I did the dumbest thing as well where I was pausing certain bits.
I regret watching it, but I pause and analyze.
Well, this is interesting. Oh, that's not really a horse. It looks like a goat horse. A horsey goat. I don't know what it is. It's not really a proper horse. Like little details like that, I was pausing. And I kind of regret I did that because I'm hoping by Jan I would have forgotten everything. The only thing I remember is there's a boss with a hand or something. And I'm sure I'll forget that too, so...
It looks really fascinating, the game. It's open
really
world.
Cool.
It looks like a bit different the way the multiplayer is being handled. Not sure. I don't know. I'm super fascinated by it. But yeah, like I think we're all on the same page that we sort of don't really want to know too much more. We just want to discover it when it comes out.
Can we talk a bit about the features?
Yeah, go.
So, the trailer showed off a ton of the story, gameplay, mechanics, the characters, locations, enemies, bosses. And in terms of features, like I said, it showed off an open world horseback traversal. That didn't really look like a proper horse to me. It looked like a horse with sort of like goat head features.
You keep saying that.
It feels like you're on repeat.
Like, I'm gonna keep telling people that. Go
that.
check it out. It's really weird. You're able to create your own character. Obviously, I mean, it is a.
No, well, that's not obvious though. From let me finish. From the early trailers, there was no indication that, and Sekiro did not have that. So it's important.
Well, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. That is a very fair point. But one thing about it as well is that you could see a whole range of different armors. So I think Fashion Souls is coming back again, unlike Sekiro, where you had a single weapon, you had a single outfit basically for the entire game. In this one, clearly it's gone back to the roots of just having a whole array of different weapons, abilities. They showed mage builds as well, which is really cool. Lots of cool little armors and yeah, look really, really cool. And I've been told it features dynamic weather with night, day, and moon cycles, and that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, so that information came out in a press release, so that wasn't in the trailer, but it was clarified after the fact. So
very cool. And because it is, it looks like a bit of an open world experience. I don't know to what extent the whole world will be open. I'm really keen to figure out how that's going to look once the game comes out. But it features grassy plains, suffocating swamps, spiraling mountains, and of course, castles. And one of them looked like the castle in the valley. Oh, my gosh, I forget how you pronounce it. Swinny, help me out here. The Valley of the Bori. The really cool castle in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
You know the one? I can't.
Are you guys really from fans?
Clearly not. The error. My brain really. I'm too excited about this.
It's
game.
like Borealis or something like that.
Just on that, like
very similar. Yeah.
I've seen a few comments where people go, looks like an open world Dark Souls 4. I'm just like, yeah, great. That sounds awesome. What are you talking about? Like,
what it sounds like, looks like it. That's what I want.
Anybody saying, it just looks like Dark Souls is like, well, fuck you. Of course it does. What do you expect?
I just think it's so
That's
weird,
exactly
though.
what I expect. That's what I want.
Something is weird in gaming where people kind of want something like insanely different. It's like sometimes I just want more of the same. It's like where people go, Mario Odyssey, oh my God, it's just like Mario 64 2. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fucking awesome, right? Well, give me more of that.
Also, you've had nearly 2 years with that teaser trailer that shows that the tone is exactly like the Souls series. Like, what are you expecting? This is not. They're not going out in a completely different direction, and we've all known that. No,
horsegoats is pretty different.
I'm talking like tone-wise, visual art direction stuff. We knew all that from the initial trailer. So this is not. Yeah, like anyone that was expecting it to be some cel-shaded platformer, like, what do you want?
Yeah,
it looks exactly what you'd imagine an open world Dark Souls would kind of look like. And I think that's a good thing. It's an amazing thing. Gosh, I'm looking forward to this one.
And amazingly, you guys are going to be blown away. Amazingly, I've already got something in my work diary for that week, which is like super annoying. It's this big event that I'm going to run.
Damn it.
And I'm like, I might just take the day off after and the day after that. Or like the Friday. I think it's coming out Friday, Australian time. So this is going to completely dominate our coverage when the game comes out in late
By the way,
Jan.
in the run sheet, you have the 21st of Jan 2021.
Yeah, he always does that.
Like, damn.
Mike, you want to work on the run sheet with me? Come on.
Well, I did. I tried working on it yesterday, and then you told me off because I was touching it and it was screwing you up.
We're going to go long. But yes. I'll just in defense of Swinny. Mike does about jack shit, nothing, prep-wise. And Swinny does so much.
Swinny does everything.
And then he knocks him on a typo. I love it. All right, let's move on to the next one.
I appreciate what you do, Swinny.
All right, over to you, Swinny.
Yeah, so for the Summer Games Fest, so obviously Elden Ring was the big news, but they opened the Summer Games Fest show with the official reveal of the Borderlands spin-off, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And before I get into the details about this, because there's actually quite a lot that we know outside of this trailer that they showed, I just want to kind of give you guys a bit of a story on what led up to this that kind of was a bit of a freaky experience for me. So I mentioned I was playing Borderlands 2 this week, and I'd read zero rumors about this at all. And they were out there, but I hadn't seen them and hadn't searched them out or whatever. So I'm sitting there playing Borderlands 2, and I realize, in order to get the weapon that I need, I'm going to have to replay the entire Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. So I'm sitting there playing through the whole DLC. This is a DLC I've not played in like 7-8 years.
I love your framing of I have to. But go on.
Yeah, just move on. So I'm playing through the whole thing, and I'm like halfway through, and then it's getting late, and Summer Games Fest is going to happen soon. It's like 2:00 in the morning. It's like starting at 4 or something. So I save, get a bit of sleep. Literally the last thing I'm playing, and then they open the show with a direct full-blown sequel to the DLC that I just happened to be playing. I was like, what the hell? That was the most unexpected thing for me. It was the most coincidental thing. But it's awesome because Attack on Dragon's Keep is one of the best DLCs I've ever played. You look up top DLCs in games, it's generally always in there. Tiny Tina as a character is always been divisive with Borderlands, so you're either going to absolutely hate it and avoid it like the plague, or you're going to be like, oh, that is exactly what I want to play. So basically, it's essentially built off that. It takes place after the storyline takes place after that DLC. I don't know how it plays in relation to the Borderlands 3 storyline because I've yet to actually start Borderlands 3. I'm waiting for a lot more of the content to come out. But the trailer was basically a riff off. It started with a riff off Elden Ring, which was pretty funny, but no one thought it was Elden Ring. But they will have actually a character creator for the first time in the series history. So
because you always fixed classes, aren't you?
Yeah, there's always fixed classes and characters. Generally, there's always 4, and they might add a couple more as DLC or as special edition, whatever. But this time it's the first character creator, which is cool because the whole thing about this is that you're playing essentially Dungeons and Dragons equivalent with Tiny Tina as the DM. So it's like bunkers and badasses. So awesome. You're actually essentially creating a character. It's the most RPG-like the series has probably ever been, which makes sense. And action skills based on the classes that you build. So it will have a much bigger focus on melee combat. aside the usual gunplay, obviously Borderlands is all about the guns, but it will have actually a lot more melee combat in this. And grenades have been replaced with an actual magic system, which acts as kind of like mini action skills, which is cool.
That's awesome.
It'll also have the first equipable armor for the first time in the series, as well as some amulets and everything. So, this is actually, while it is obviously going to be based on the Borderlands formula, they're making a lot of changes here, which I think is really, really cool. And of course, it also features 4-player co-op, as you'd expect. It's, they've got Ashley Birch back as Tiny Tina, which, we couldn't have anyone else really probably voice her without a lot of backlash. And she was at the show as well. And it still freaks me out just to think of, watching, hey, Ash, what you're playing on Destructoid when it first came out. And then to see her career and where it's gone, to be, lined up, against people like Andy Samberg or Will Arnett. Like, it's awesome. It's great to see someone start from, from ground up. Like
humble beginnings.
Yeah. So I'm super pumped for this because, as I said, I love that DLC so much. It really, it plays off the tropes of RPG so much so that I do not envy the writers having the task to essentially, like, that DLC is so full of jokes. It's like, what else can you do? It's just absolutely jam-packed. And they're having to create a full experience based on, and they're not going to repeat the same jokes. So they might play off them. But yeah, I'm super pumped for this. It's so far my favorite announcement of E3. But obviously we've got the big conferences still to come.
Over Elden Ring?
Well, that's not an announcement.
Okay, yeah. I have to say, this is why I love the show, because for me, I'm like, what is this for? And, when you had this in the run sheet, I was like, whoa, you got this as like a headliner? But I think that's a cool thing. I think that's an awesome thing. And so
you always downplay the Borderlands series. Like, that series has sold like over 60 million copies.
Oh, and
like massively popular.
Dude, come on. We're all diverse middle-aged white men.
But like Swinny, like, I've said this, that remember when Epic did their research and Borderlands 3 was ahead of like Final Fantasy VII Remake in terms of people's interests. And it's why they ended up paying them like $132 million to secure the rights to make it exclusive. So I understand that's a huge game. I just never got into it.
It's a really cool game.
But yeah, no, it's awesome. And they're like that. I'm trying to actually pay Swinny a compliment and be nice and go, I think it's a cool thing that, there's diverse. But fuck you, Swinny. I hate this game. I'm going to delete this from the run sheet.
Also, for anyone wondering, they didn't go into any more detail at all in the Gearbox presentation about this. So they showed the same trailer and a couple of still images of some enemy designs. I was hoping for more. I watched it live. So it was actually, honestly, the Gearbox presentation was actually not bad. But I was hoping for a bit more about this. But yeah. Cool.
Yeah, like, and without getting too on the side, I think all the presentations have been pretty decent. Like, I think historically there've been some that have just been incredibly flat, but yeah, they've been pretty decent so far. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into the other highlights of Summer Games Fest. Do you want to start us off with Salt and Sacrifice, Mikey?
Sure. So Salt and Sacrifice is the successor to SK Studios' 2016 hit, the 2D Souls-like Salt and Sanctuary, which I played both on PC and on Switch. Loved it on the Switch, by the way. Highly recommend it. It's the perfect game for the Switch platform, in my opinion. And this time you're on a hunt for mages, even though, of course, it appears you can be a bit of a mage yourself, which is quite fascinating. One of the biggest changes, I think, is it features online and local co-op, which I would love to play with someone. One of you guys, maybe, Swinny? Hello, anyone? And the release date is early 2022 for PC, PS4, and PS5. I'm assuming it's also PC. I only saw PS4 and PS5 on the actual
PC
trailer,
well.
but
it's PC.
I've been told it's PC as well. I'm really looking forward to this one.
I just want to mention as well, for anyone that's just jumping into this specific clip, we just also... you can check out our what we thought about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and Elden Ring in separate clips as well for Summer Games Fest. So this is all our other highlights.
Yeah, and we're not going to cover everything that was in Summer Games Fest either. It's just our highlights that we liked. I've never played Salt and Sanctuary. I think I have it like through one of the freebies or whatever. I didn't buy it.
Was it on PlayStation, I think? Because I've got it on PlayStation as well. I don't remember if it was a freebie or not, but I never played it on PlayStation. It's 2D Dark Souls, really.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
That's
and
a whole genre now,
it's a
isn't it?
really cool game once you get into it. Really loved playing it.
It's just I don't know how much time I have to, get good at those games. Oh no, I don't actually have it.
It wasn't the longest
time.
It wasn't the longest game. I don't recall it being particularly long. So yeah. So the next one that we have is Evil Dead. Now,
I was really
pumped. You guys are really into that.
Well,
yeah.
I was really pumped for this, and then I kind of thought we're going to go so long, maybe we're not going to actually cover this. So I'm glad that Swinny, the editor in chief, added this in. This looks insane. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan of the movies and the TV series, and this game, when it first got announced and we covered it. I was really looking forward to it, but I was a bit nervous. Like, is it actually going to be good? But having seen now what looks to be the gameplay, I think it looks awesome. And it's dated for this year. Don't think we have a month yet, Swinny. It's just 2021.
I couldn't find a month.
Yeah, I couldn't find it either. And then you also have that sort of asymmetric multiplayer style where you can play as the Kandarian demon. And also, by the way, the trailer is awesome. And the sort of, the coverage in some games first is awesome because you've actually got Bruce Campbell doing some of the voiceover work for it, which was awesome. And this the writing so great as well.
Yeah, I love the fact that it seems like when you're playing as the demon that you can actually traverse in the classic Evil Dead style where it's low to the ground and like fisheye lens or whatever it is. That is so cool to implement as a gameplay feature as one of the biggest homages possible to Evil Dead. I love it.
It doesn't always happen, but it really looks like the people who are making this game love this series. Because sometimes, you get a deal, a publishing deal, whatever, you got an IP, make the game. But something about it just looks like, for me, as a huge fan, just the style and everything, they've really put in a lot of work to make it like Evil Dead. So yeah, I'd be super keen to check this out with you guys if it comes out, but I might have to bend your arm.
You might have to buy me a copy.
I'll buy you a copy now.
Well, if it's this year.
That's the new one, is it?
What am I going to do? I can't buy any more games.
One of the other ones that I definitely wanted to cover as well, and I think you did as well, Swinny, was Death Stranding. So Kojima and Jeff Keighley have an amazing relationship. They have a big bromance going on. Check out the interview. It's quite interesting just hearing Kojima talk about coronavirus and making games, and he was kind of comparing it to 9/11. It was quite interesting, actually. And he's had a long and storied career, obviously. He's one of the important voices in the game dev world. But this trailer was quite incredible. The music, the sound, the look, and then, it very explicitly later when you have Norman Reedus' character, Sam Porter Bridges, reenact the whole cardboard box thing that from a very Metal Gear Solid perspective.
That's pretty fun.
I have a theory on what I think it all means, but I want to hear from you guys first and what you thought of the trailer.
So I'll just say that this is only Kojima could get away with a trailer like this where you've got extended sequences of the character just staring at a cardboard box and just looking at it and picking it up. It's so great. Even going back to the initial, launch trailers of Metal Gear Solid 2, he's just got such a style that just resonates with me. It just clicks. In terms of what it means, obviously we know it's a PS5 version.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a director's cut.
Yeah. So it's obviously going to have some new elements to it because surely you couldn't call it director's cut and just have it being a nicer version.
Yeah, so they did confirm that. So they've said it's an extended and expanded version of the game.
Which is interesting to me because some of the common criticisms I saw, now obviously Mike, I know you've played it, I haven't, but some of the common criticisms I saw of Death Stranding was that it's actually probably too long in certain parts. No, that's just the common things
I can
I've
see
heard.
how people would say that, yeah.
So to expand on that is interesting, but I don't know. I haven't played Death Stranding. So.
Even though both of you own a copy, courtesy of me,
I played a bit of it.
Buying you guys a copy last year.
Yeah, what do we call the Xmas thing?
Are you even going to play it?
It was called out. Well, it's just we gave each other gifts.
Big Xmas.
We gifted each other.
Big Xmas.
The Big Xmas.
Big Xmas. No, I it's actually stayed with me. Death Stranding. It's just literally I had to play through all the game of some of the year 2011 games, all these other games that are coming out and stuff like that. And I literally just kind of ran out of time.
Oh, you had to? Oh, did you, Integot?
You know what? He's waiting for that, for me to say something like that, to pounce.
You do deserve it.
Now, can I give my explanation of what I think the sequence means, the meaning, the artistic meaning behind it? Can I do that, Swinny?
You need my permission?
Well, yeah, because you're bitching me around today. So we have, basically like the stand-in almost in a way for Solid Snake, but you've got Sam Bridges, the character from Death Stranding. Now, he's taking the cardboard box, puts the cardboard box, jumps in the cardboard box, jumps out, right? Obviously, it's huge homage, you could say, to Metal Gear and Solid Snake. But my interpretation of it is the box actually says fragile and it says handle with love, right? The character's putting it down, he's jumping in, leaving. My interpretation is it's like Kojima saying to the fans, the relationship that I have with this game it's fragile, like Metal Gear and the character itself. And by jumping in and jumping out, it's almost like that's had its place. Like I've gone in, I've done that, but I'm leaving now and I'm putting it back on the shelf and it's kind of done. So that's my interpretation, that he's done with the series and this is his last little homage to it.
You do know there's a character and a company called Fragile in the game.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not right.
Sure,
You're not
you
wrong.
knew that?
I'm just saying, clarifying you did that.
Well, but they could have picked anything and they've picked that. The other boxes didn't have that. And also there were oranges in the box, which is another homage, obviously, to Metal Gear Solid.
Interesting. So I played through the game when it came out, loved it, thought it was one of the most memorable games I've ever played. I don't know why. Something about the gameplay, even though you're mostly just delivering stuff, works so well. This clearly looked like it was an extension to that because in the game, there's obviously stealth elements. A lot of the time you're dealing with BTs, which are the supernatural enemies in the game. But there are elements where you're dealing against other humanoid or human enemies. And I feel like this looks like it's taking that one extra step where it's merging it with the old school Metal Gear mechanics of sneaking through more enclosed spaces as opposed to the open world that he had in the previous game. So the only thing I'm struggling with this is I don't know if I can play through the entire game again just to experience that part. So that's a bit of a shame because, to be honest, this looks amazing, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to it because if it means having to play through the whole game again, as much as I enjoyed it, I don't know if I can go through that again.
Yeah, it's always a disincentive to play games when they come out.
Almost is, yeah. Wait until you get the superior version and get that one. So there's a few games like that where I'm kind of glad I waited, like Final Fantasy Integrate, which we'll talk about a little bit in a sec when we talk about the prices and stuff. I'm kind of grateful I waited. I only played a little bit of it, and I thought in my head, hang on a minute, PS5 just around the corner.
Yeah.
I'll just wait.
And the final one that Swinny, you got to explain yourself on this one. The Sonic Unleashed Symphony.
Yeah, so we're basically, to let you guys into a bit of a inside, we generally list the stuff that's covered in these presentations and say, hey, who's interested in what? And we put a bit of a rating to then figure out what we want to talk about. The reason why I put super interested against this one is because I actually am a huge fan of this game.
Oh, really?
Sonic Unleashed.
Oh, okay.
I love Sonic Unleashed. It's very divisive, but the soundtrack is really, really great. And I just want to call out that it was just really great to, and unexpected to hear some, a symphony playing Sonic Unleashed in a 2021 game presentation. I just wanted to say it was just really, really cool.
Oh, okay. Easy. Oh, I thought there was something more to that. Or,
No.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Highlight.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to our next bit of news. And this is coming from the Ubisoft Forward announcement. Unfortunately, leaking a little bit early because I would have been insanely pumped if I was watching this, on VOD or live. But we have a Mario plus Rabbids sequel coming. It was announced as almost the one last thing in the Ubisoft Forward announcement overnight in the E3 presentation. It's Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope coming in 2022 exclusively to the Nintendo Switch. And they frame it more as a spiritual successor to the game. like spiritual sequel. They want to like take a lot of the gameplay, but then play around with it a little bit and do more. And I have to say, like when just, they showed a cinematic trailer and then also gameplay footage, I've played through and beaten the first game and I loved it. I did find that the gameplay footage, they did say it's alpha footage. Game is coming out in 2022 though. It looked a bit rough to me, honestly. And like I have a bit of a weird theory as to maybe why that's the case. But it looks really, really cool. Awesome characters. They're bringing in Galaxy characters. So you've got Rabid Rosalina, where they've totally leaned into her, being a total, I don't know how to say it without being too rude, but just very lazy and everything like that. Very opposite to the actual Rosalina character. And this idea of sparks, which are an abomination of lumas mixed with rabbits, which just
rabbits are abomination. Full stop.
Well, yeah, exactly. But they're just infiltrating the Mario universe. So again, this game, it's going to be like a tactics style XCOM grid game.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay, go on.
This looks different.
So there's no grid. So they've overhauled the combat system. This is why they are calling it a spiritual sequel. So rather than it taking place within the levels, when you encounter an enemy, you go to a separate small arena, and it plays out more like Divinity Original Sin, where it's still turn-based, but there's no grid to lock you in. And it's limited to, I'm not sure how many party members did you have in the first game?
4 from memory.
So there's 3 in this one.
Okay.
So, and there's 9 playable characters in total. But yeah, no, they've actually changed. They're modifying it a bit. So I guess when they said, spiritual sequel, I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's obviously like a sequel, but that's why. It's because they're changing the mechanics.
Oh, nice.
And Grant Kirkhope has come back for the soundtrack, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I love the first game. I thought it was really cool. My theory about the gameplay, so I did, because, playing the first game, it looked really good. I actually think this game, just from what I've seen, doesn't look as good almost as the first game, which is a bit strange given, you're 3 to 4 years later. But I do wonder, and this is crazy speculation, I'll couch that. I do wonder if, there was going to be a Switch Pro announcement. They were going to have like really sexy looking gameplay footage in that bit, running the higher end hardware. And then because the Switch Pro thing hasn't happened, they've got a close relationship with Nintendo, obviously. They're maybe running it on a setting which is more like the Switch rather than a Switch Pro. Because, honestly, to me, the gameplay doesn't look as nice as the first game. It's just my random speculation.
I don't know if it's also the fact that apparently the levels are more open.
Maybe.
And they're not linear paths, so maybe the fidelity has been adjusted to match.
Maybe. But I'm like super looking forward to this. I'll be buying this on launch. Love the first game. The expansion was really cool. The Donkey Kong expansion was really cool. And yeah, like you guys, I know you're not the biggest fan of it, Mike, but Swinny, is this
I didn't mind it.
Okay. I thought you didn't like the first one.
No, I thought it was really cool. I thought the gameplay was really solid. It didn't run amazingly. I don't know why I expected it to just be a little bit smoother. I don't know. It didn't captivate me enough to continue with it. But it's a solid game. Really, really enjoyable, solid game. So I think I might actually go back into it.
Yeah. I got to correct myself quickly. It's 3 characters.
Yeah, I thought it was 3. Because I remember you start off with the rabbit Peach. Just hilarious.
Yeah, you have a whole host of characters. I can't remember how many, like 10, but you can only pick 3 for battle. I don't know what it was for. I can't remember why. And Swinny, any interest in this or not at all?
Look, no, I'm interested, but I've still got the first game sitting on my shelf over here.
Do you have the first game?
Yet. Yeah, I just haven't played it yet. I also just want to clarify as well that this is only single-player game. There's no co-op in this one.
Okay.
And I don't mind that at all, to be honest, because that's the only way I played the first game, and I was pretty happy with the first game. So, yeah, I'm super
there's
keen.
a co-op mode in the first game.
No, I know that, but I never. I thought I would
so.
play that, but I never did, and I was kind of like almost surprised. So I tried it with my wife, and I was like, it's like I don't know, I don't know, it just didn't click with me. So I'm kind of not surprised. They get a lot of data on that kind of stuff, and they might have seen that only 5% of people are playing co-op, so it's a lot of work to implement that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, really looking forward to that. Hopefully it's earlier 2022. Hopefully it's not like holiday 2022, but yeah, we'll find out soon enough. All right, well, why don't we jump into the rest of the quick thoughts around Ubisoft Forward, Swinny?
Yeah, so if anyone has just jumped into this clip, we just talked about Mario and Rabbids. So you can check out a coverage in the early segment or just previous segment. But yeah, just wanted to give some very quick thoughts for what I think was actually a pretty good presentation from Ubisoft. I watched it live, and suddenly when they started with Rainbow Six, which I'm not a big Rainbow Six fan, even though I did play the original game and everything, but I'm just like, oh, this is going to be long because it's very early in the morning. But they kept it interesting. So my quick thoughts were, yeah, Rainbow Six Quarantine, they finally, really unveiled that. Looks all right. Honestly, not my thing, but it's, I think it's going to be probably quite popular if Siege is anything to go by. Rocksmith Plus looks really, really neat. So what I played of the very first Rocksmith was really, really good fun. They've essentially dropped the chord input for an app, like a Shazam style, where it's actually picking it up, which I think is a really great way to lower the barrier for entry. Obviously, you still need a guitar, so there's always going to be that barrier, but you don't have to shell out for the actual connector.
But just on that, I think, because I saw this Rocksmith Plus, and like I have a background. I'm terrible at guitar now, but I used to play guitar, and I love guitar. And I looked at this, and I think the whole, being able to provide the input without barriers and making it really, really easy I actually agree with them. I think it's a bit of a game changer for it. Rocksmith itself was really, really cool, but those friction points can be quite annoying. It's a bit like VR. Like the more friction points, the more annoying it is. And I kind of wonder if something like this isn't going to replicate a Oculus Quest 2 where you remove barriers, you remove annoyance in the process, and you get a big uptake in what people are doing with it. I think it looks awesome. I actually almost definitely will check it out when it comes out because it looks awesome. It looks really, really cool.
So Riders Republic, honestly, much better showing for this game than any time before. They showed off a great chunk of gameplay across a lot of modes.
It looks sick.
And they really dialed back the ridiculous over-the-top presentation that's still obviously in the game, but they didn't go full-on ham with it like they did in the initial trailer. And I think that a lot of people are now actually looking at the gameplay and saying, hey, some of that stuff actually looks really, really neat.
Looks amazing.
So
I'm actually looking forward to this one.
So I think they've made up a lot of ground with that. And I mean, that game was originally meant to have been out by now. So it turned out to be a best decision to delay it. It really did.
Just before we move on, sorry, Swinny, I know we want to whip through these, but I think that's got to be in the running and currently the greatest turnaround on any game, because I 100% agree. I think the trailer looked so much better, and the focus on the gameplay being more arcadey and fun, but the trailer, the way they presented it, was a bit cleaner. Just it went from being there's zero chance I'd look at this to I might pick up this if other people are.
Yeah, and we had a couple of other highlights I want to touch on. So Far Cry 6, we didn't really cover the proper full gameplay reveal the previous week, but they announced some of the coolest DLC I've ever actually seen. So they essentially, for the season pass, they've got DLC where you're playing as the villains from Far Cry 3, 4, and 5, so Vars, Pagan, and Joseph Seed, which is just such a cool approach.
A really cool idea.
And it's gone all crazy. It's over the top, like hallucinations and stuff, which is a Far Cry staple at this point. And also they announced that the season pass will include a version of Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And they did go a bit into more detail with that on sites like IGN and stuff, but it seems like it's just an enhanced version of that original Blood Dragon game.
Before we get to the actual final one, are you not going to mention Valhalla?
Oh, I'm just touching on some bigger stuff here. So
no, it's just that because we didn't know about that. There's going to be a year 2.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the fact that they previously that there were some files that they found that were for new areas in the mythological side, which is what they announced in the show. So,
in Paris,
but the last one, and probably, I'd say the biggest announcement, although we already knew about this game. So after 4 years, we've finally seen what Ubisoft Massive's been working on for Avatar. So Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, it was a cinematic trailer, but it's very clear that it's, based off their work in the Division, it's it's going to be an open world action game. It seems like so you'd have to make that assumption. But honestly, I thought this looked cool. I'm not an Avatar hater. I'm not a super fan of Avatar, but I think they've had a shot of making Avatar games in the past, and I think it makes sense to tie in with the sequels that should be on the horizon very soon. So,
can I just
go on,
so
Mike.
just before we move on, before we forget, just a small correction so we don't have to correct ourselves next week. I think it was Rainbow Six Extraction.
Oh, did I say quarantine? Sorry.
Yeah, true. Good call.
Yeah,
Good call.
Okay, I just
Correct,
remembered. I'm
correct,
like,
So I mean,
have to
like,
correct next week.
I know that you're saying it's like already been sort of announced, but it is pretty insane, this situation, right? Like with Avatar. Like I know that like it's almost like Avatar itself. It's a film that came out in 2009. You know, it's back to being the number one grossing film of all time because they released it in China, and it's now bumped past the Avenger films. And I'll just give you a quick quiz. I think Jack's Films always does this quiz. So it's not me creating it, but I want to ask you guys, do you know the name of the protagonist of Avatar?
No.
Like, how insane is that? This is the biggest film of all time from a grossing perspective.
Jake.
Yes. Yeah, okay, you're cheating.
But also,
How am
it's
I cheating?
Oh,
I don't
you
even have
haven't?
anything
I thought you looked it up
open.
on Google. Wait.
No.
It's Jake. It is Jake. The first name's Jake.
I made it up. I probably just like vaguely remembered it from when I watched it. Honestly, I didn't know that. I just put a name out there.
I just wanted to sit in the pocket on this one a little bit because it's insane to me. It's like James Cameron, who like I love him as a writer and a director. He's made so many films I absolutely love. Avatar probably being the least of all of them.
Yeah, same.
But it's like I kind of have just taken it for granted that Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 are never coming out. But I'm starting to get a sense like they are actually going to come out. Like the fact that they've announced this game, it's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Oh,
potentially,
there's been a lot of updates around the next Avatar movie in even the last 12 months. So
I know, but you know that's been happening for the last 10 years, right? Like they're talking about filming four of them back to back, and they dropped doing that, and they filmed some of it like 4 years ago.
But there's been like a lot more of it in recent times. So I think it's very close to probably that being realized. Obviously, there's so much post-production involved in that. But so this, they say it's coming out in 2022 next year. But the interesting part for me is the fact that Ubisoft Massive are now working on both an Avatar game and a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I was going to say the
I thought
same.
you were going to say in a Smurfs game.
How
Because I always thought
insane.
Avatar was modern Smurfs.
How insane. Ubisoft Massive are working on like the number one grossing film of all time, and then maybe number 4th grossing film of all time. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know Ubisoft Massive that well. I know they do like The Division and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
why? Why are they working on this?
I don't know. But yeah, look, there were some highlights. I think, it was a good showing overall.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good from Ubisoft.
Yeah,
I think
a lot of good
I know
stuff.
this Avatar thing's blown my mind. You know, they've dated the Avatar 2 for next year, the end of the year.
Okay.
So maybe it's going to come out around the same time.
Back to
Coincide
Smurfs.
it. Yeah,
Space
pretty
Smurfs.
insane. All right, let's keep moving. Let's move on to the next one. We've got Xbox and xCloud news. So I kind of think it's weird for them to be like dropping some of this news, but essentially, like, there's quite some big news that they did drop, some affecting us in Australia. But this was part of like a little pre-E3 interview that Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer, so the CEO of Microsoft and the head of Xbox Studios or Xbox itself, that and you know they've disclosed this previously, but you know they're just really confirming that they want to have xCloud on everything and get Game Pass on everything. So they're already in discussions with how do you just embed it into TVs. So how can the latest Samsung TV have xCloud essentially inbuilt into it. And
the latest Sony TV.
Maybe not, but the only thing extra you'd need is a controller at that space. And a lot of people will have controllers that will work via Bluetooth, even DualShocks and stuff like that. So, Swinny, I think, you took a long time to purchase that TV that you did. You'll probably be throwing in the bin in about a year's time. The other one is that affects us in Australia is we've had official confirmation that later this year, xCloud will launch in full properly in Australia and other territories, Brazil, Japan, and Mexico, amongst others. I think that's really, really cool because, they're also talking about how to get it into PC itself and onto iOS. And then finally, with all the studios that they have, they want to target having one first-party Xbox game a quarter, which is going It'd be kind of crazy. But it makes sense when you have 23 studios that you can actually have that kind of output. So, Swinny, as the greatest Xbox shill in the world, you must be pretty happy.
None of this news makes me incredibly happy. It's pretty par for the course stuff for me.
Well, after spending so much money
Such
on a
a
TV,
hater.
of course it's not going to make you happy.
Like we knew a lot of this stuff was coming, and all like one first party game per quarter. To me, that's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know, like they're not traveling on that path at the moment, so it is certainly an improvement. But it's almost like, with the amount of studios you have, like I'd be expecting 2 per quarter at this point. You know?
Yeah, I hope they don't do what the Ubisoft did last year, where they dropped like 4 games within the space of a quarter, and then they just get buried, like Phoenix Immortal Rising. If I said that name right.
Immortals Phoenix Rising, close.
What was it? Phoenix Rising?
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
What did I say?
You said Phoenix Immortals Rising, I think.
I thought I said Immortals Phoenix Rising, didn't I?
We'll hear on the playback.
I'm actually putting a little edit note in my thing.
It's like, stop the show. We're going to check the tape
I put a little
now.
edit note so then I can look at the time code and then see if I was right. Then I'll gloat over you guys. All right. Well,
because you don't like to do that ever.
Never. All right. Let's get on to the next and final update. The Playdate. So we already had some information about the Playdate last week, so we covered a bit, but they had the Playdate update presentation this week, and we were kind of thinking we might not cover it just because there might not be anything significant, but I think, we really felt it warranted to bring it up again just because, man, this presentation, for me, 10 out of 10. This is like how you do
really
a presentation. Cool. Amazing presentation, and I think, maybe I'm going to be an example of this, but last week I was like, it's pretty expensive. I'm a bit on the fence. I don't know about it. Watch the presentation. I'm like, I don't know. Probably get it. Like,
it makes 2 of us.
Yeah.
It was clearly a good presentation. I was absolutely on the fence. Too much, whatever. Now I'm like, whoa, I need to pre-order one of these babies.
Yeah. And, they were really good about how they covered the pre-orders because we didn't have that information last week, but essentially pre-orders aren't going to happen this month. It's going to be next month. You can sign up. They're going to give you enough warning, and then they're going to do it Tesla style. So when I say that, the way that Tesla does their pre-orders, they open it, and then you basically get an order number if you order straight away, and then you just become part of the queue. So, it's crazy because there's a lot of open information about this because people have shared, but essentially if you order like 1 day later, that could mean you're getting it in a year versus like getting it in 3 months for like something like a Tesla. And you're going to get the same type of thing with this. Like, it sounds like they have units, but they don't have, millions of units of it. So if you order straight away, you might be lucky enough to get it shipped out to you quite quickly, but it also might take a bit of time. So you really actually have to see how that goes. So as I said, they're going to limit the stock, but then it's not going to be like stopped. They're going to build more with time, and you will get it eventually. And they're pretty open that you just have to be patient with them. Some of the new announcements though that were really cool.
Ooh. Yep.
So we have the Playdate. It still looks exactly the same, made by Teenage Engineering in terms of the design and everything like that. It's an amazing group of engineers that they have over there. I think it's Sweden from memory. But yeah, they announced the stereo dock. So it's like a dock for your Playdate, but it does so much more than that. It has a stereo speaker. It has like a music track that you can put in so it can charge your Playdate. And the absolute most important thing of all, because you've got to have it on your desk, of course, is that it's got a pen holder.
Yeah, and I've got a yellow Lemmy fountain pen that looks almost exactly like the pen that they're giving you with it.
That's the thing I love. They go, it's got a pen holder,
there's 2 holes.
We have to build a pen for this then.
Of course.
The delivery and how they approached this was just absolutely awesome.
It was really cool.
They're just like, this is ridiculous, but we're going all in on this. I love it so much.
And like the design and everything like that, it looks like, the old Mac.
It looks totally like it with the little interface. It looks so
cool.
cute.
It's so cool.
I think it. I don't think it's gimmicky at all. It actually makes sense. It's a really cool way to charge your device. It's a cool way to use it as an alarm clock. I actually think it's a really practical little device.
Alarm clock, do we actually know it's an alarm clock? Because that is very, very important to me, as you know.
There's a clock as we can see, but we don't know if it's an alarm clock.
But that does not mean it's an alarm clock.
Very important to you.
I am double checking because there is more information on their website. And in the lead up to the show, because we all watched the presentation, in the lead up to the show, I just double checked everything. And I found that they also have got a cover that they didn't talk about at all in the Prezzo.
Okay.
But it's like a really cool magnetic cover for the Playdate.
Does it come with it?
No,
or
that's
an
extra.
accessory?
So that's
Okay.
$29 US extra. The stereo dock, they haven't priced it. And they also, doesn't seem like it, I don't think you can order it when the pre-orders go live. It doesn't look like that's going to be the way it works.
Yeah, it's coming up later from what I saw.
Yeah, which kind of like is throwing me off a little bit just because, with the shipping to Australia, we have to see how that plays out, but it could cost a lot to ship this to Australia. So for me, I might just might need to hold off. And maybe that means I won't get it for like a year, but I don't know. I'd hate to like spend so much money on shipping a dock later and then also shipping the Playdate earlier.
What, you mean hold off till the second day of the pre-order so you can get it a year later?
No, I'm saying, I'm saying until the stereo docks are available as well. This looks really, really cool. We should just run through the specs like super quickly. The one that kind of worries me a little bit is the screen is a reflective black and white screen. There is zero backlight to the screen. It has a huge amount of power, 8 hours active, but it actually has a standby clock of 14 days. I can't see anything about an alarm, Swinny.
Never assume an alarm. Never assume.
Well,
By the way, in case you guys are wondering, we had this quite a few episodes ago. We were talking about the Game & Watch that came out recently. And it's a Game & Watch and no alarm, in case you guys are wondering. So
I think the alarm thing must have something to do with battery on these devices. Must
Maybe.
destroy them somehow. I look, Swinny, I don't actually think it has an alarm. Like when I keep looking, there's a reference to clock but not alarm.
As I said, I did not assume. I've been burnt before.
Yeah, because people are lazily saying an 80s style alarm clock, but nothing in their material at all says alarm. Yeah, and some of the other things we've already seen, like the crank and everything like that. But the next one that I wanted to talk about briefly is, it's got a 180 megahertz processor, which is like fine for what it's trying to do. But the awesome thing is that it supports Lua and C programming language, really, really both cool programming languages. And then with that as well, kind of a bit similar to what Analog doing with the Analog Pocket and Game Boy Studio, they have an online video game creator called Pulp, where you can create your own games.
So good.
Yep.
So, I mean, this whole ecosystem is really awesome. We already knew about, that you're getting 2 games per week. I don't think we had the specificity. It was going to be 2 games every week for 12 weeks in season 1. Season 1, to me, implying that there'll be a season 2. And then, Swinny, did you want to cover some of the special sort of game developers that are sort of developing things for this and where they're at with that as well?
Yeah, so if anyone hasn't, they showed off mainly the titles and I guess some of the graphics of a lot of them, but they only focus on a couple. Some that we've already known about for quite a while, like Keita Takahashi's, I can't remember the name of it, but the one where you rewind time with the crank.
Yeah, that's the main one that they keep showing, yeah.
Bennett Foddy from, QWOP and getting over it. It's just wild to me that QWOP is still in the, gaming stratosphere. That is a game that's just, I remember playing as a fun little, flash game or whatever years ago. I was probably playing at your place one time, I remember. But and they've spent quite a bit of time with Lucas Pope, who was actually featured who's the creator of Papers, Please and Return of the Obra Dinn. Return of the Obra Dinn being a game that is almost visually exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Along the lines of the
Maybe you could
Playdate.
port it depending on performance.
But he showed off a bit of work in progress of a game called Mars After Midnight, which looked really, really cool.
Really
a great tone to it. We don't know much more than the visuals that he showed off.
I don't think he knows much more either, he said. We'll see where this goes.
And it's coming up in the B-roll, but that's what I loved about it, that he's just great timing, Swinny. He just was so honest about it. And the fact that they kept it in like that, they're just oh, I'm playing around with it. It's really cool. I don't know what this is going to be. It's kind of fun.
Because it's not, to be clear, it's not a season 1 game. So
no.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, the whole thing seemed really honest to me. Even the way they said, "Hey guys, you can pre-order, but here's the deal, and we may not be able to get to it, and there may be a shortage and all that stuff." I like that honest conversation, and I think maybe that's why you and I got sold on this thing. Now it's that honesty that came out.
And you can see it in the clip, but just for audio listeners, which we have a lot, right? I love that you used the crank. You've got basically a little peephole or mail slot of your house or something, or your door and you can actually use the crank to open up the little mail slot, and then you like look through and you can see like the little character on the other side. It's very cool. Like, I don't know, this crank, because it's a unique feature, you don't have it in other games. I'm like, it does really open up some weird possibilities of games that will work so well for this that just wouldn't work in the same way on anything else. I think, I don't know, my wife's going to kill me if I order this, but, I feel like,
Same.
I'm very likely to order this. Mike is, where are you sitting on it, Swinny?
Oh, I want the hell out of this.
Oh, really? So we're Playdate boys. This is the Playdate podcast.
Welcome to the Playdate podcast.
I mean, Panic.
On Sunday, the 13th of June.
I don't know if I want it so much so that I'll like get it day one or whatever, but I'd like to eventually get one.
Yeah. I mean, this is such, like, I do wish the price point was a bit more, competitive or whatever you want to call it. I get that they won't sell millions of this, so they just can't.
Well, maybe they will if they already have 3 suckers that weren't going to get it last week and this week just because of an ad.
But I just think this would be something that if you saw in EB Games and it was like 149, obviously ideally 99, and I think the technology and everything about it, they could sell it for 99 if they were selling millions of it. It's just something that people would look at and go, wow, this looks really neat. Like, this looks really cool. Like,
if this came to Australia, what do you reckon it would be? $299?
I said it last week,
$249, but it's not going to be $249. It's going to be like a $299 price point.
It's not going to be $300. Yeah, for sure, right? Because it's like 179 US.
Yeah, but with the conversion, it's like what, $249 if you were to actually convert it to Australian, plus the tax included, probably a $249.
Yeah,
but
so
there's no way we're going to get it for that.
It's $255, like with GST in Australian dollars,
so
without shipping it, without anything extra. So it's going to be like $300, man.
Easy.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Just in the B-roll, they showed off they showed off some of the other like developer games, and they had that Mario Paint looking one, which is awesome.
It looks freaking phenomenal, man.
Like Mario Paint Music Maker, I should say.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where you like, unlike the Atari VCS, all this other kind of stuff. There's no other way, really. I think you can experience some of these games if they've been built around the crank, which smartly, in my opinion, all the devs seem to be going, how can we use the crank? Like, what can we use the crank for?
Well, I mean, you could replicate it with a thumbstick. You just rotate
but it's just not the same.
I know it's not the same. But you could even get an attachment for your controller that's like a little crank, but it's not on the side, and you just move it that way.
Seamless.
You can kind of replicate it somewhat on other consoles.
No, it looks really cool.
Different.
It looks super cool. I'm really looking forward to it. All right, let's get into my favorite segment, the bargain bin for the week commencing the 13th of June, 2021. As always, we start with the Epic Games Store because they give us lots of free stuff and it's cool. So this week, amazingly, Control is for free until the 18th of June. They've already announced the next set of games, which are also very good, but we'll cover it next week, just in case they change, which they sometimes do. And Swinny, yes, the Epic Mega Sale is finishing on the 17th. So you have your free $15 voucher to claim. You use it against the game. You get another one. So you can grab some games for cheap until the 17th of June. On the Nintendo Switch, the digital highlights include Moving Out, which is $18.75 until the 17th of June. Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King is $5. That's a pretty good deal, right, Swinny? Until the 24th of June.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about that game.
And Vambrace Cold Soul is $11.25 until the 4th of July. On the PlayStation, the big one that I'd call out for Australia is that Final Fantasy VII Remake is $19 brand new from EB Games at the moment. I think that's just an awesome deal to jump on that. If you buy it, obviously, then you can go down the path of upgrading it for free on the PS5. So essentially, it's the PS5 version without the DLC for $19. DLC in Australia, I think, is around $30, $35. So it definitely works out cheaper than buying the PS5 version, integrate of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And if you're
like 119 or something?
Yeah, it's like 100. Yeah, 109 is I think the cheapest I've seen it.
Damn. Son.
And weirdly enough, Square does put the DLC on discount every now and then. Some companies never put their DLC on discount. They do.
The DLC for Human Revolution and all those games is always on discount.
Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy 15's DLC is always on discount. So.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, some publishers, they just never put it on discount. There's an interesting, like, market dynamic of why you wouldn't do that. So, if you're patient like me, you could pick up Final Fantasy VII Remake and then just wait until the DLC goes on discount. So you probably end up picking it up all up for like about 30 Australian dollars. So I think that's a pretty damn good deal for a good game. Digital highlights, Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, which is with PS Plus, $6. Fury is $7.50, and Super Meat Boy with PS Plus is $2.40. Swinny, can you cover Xbox?
Yeah, so Xbox, we don't normally cover their sales because they end the day after our podcast goes live, but this week they've got an E3 sale called Deals Unlocked, where these deals are running till the 17th of June. So just a couple of highlights. I don't normally do this, but I finally got some Assassin's Creed in the bargain bin. So Assassin's Creed games,
game, no less.
Assassin's Creed games are always on sale, but I think these are actually pretty good. So we've got Assassin's Creed Chronicles, the trilogy of the 3 games, is 70% off at $10.50. That's actually really, really good value. Assassin's Creed Odyssey Ultimate Edition, which includes all the DLC, which are massive DLCs. So the whole package is 75% off at $50.30. We also have the Blizzard Arcade Collection, which is a recent release that I'm keen to try out, is 25% off at $22.45.
Nice. It still feels very expensive, the Odyssey price, like
the
compared
DLC,
to other Game of the Years.
Yeah, but the DLC, the season passes themselves are like expensive even by themselves. So
fair enough.
They're big DLCs though, aren't they?
They're huge
Individual?
DLCs.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what she said.
All right. Well, we're really whipping through the news. Let's jump into our first special feature, which is, I guess, my impressions. Mike, you haven't bought this game?
Not allowed.
My impressions of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So a true next-gen game coming hot off the heels of Returnal. I have to say, PlayStation's dominating a bit. Swinny, sorry that you have a Xbox Series X.
You're the one. You're fighting a one-side war here.
I don't actually care. This is the funny thing. I've normally owned Xbox, or like I'd more than happily buy another Xbox. So Ratchet and Clank. So just the context, I haven't played a lot of Ratchet and Clank. I played a little bit of the 2016 game. Thought it was pretty cool. I didn't really know if I wanted to pick this up or not, but I kind of on a whim went, I think Mike's not going to buy it. So look what you've done to me, Mike. So I did grab it. Quick thing though, like it's quite funny at EB Games, they automatically price match. They know me and automatically price match for me before, like they ring up the price match price.
Had that before.
Because
Really?
I make such a big deal about it.
I'm way higher level than you, not to brag or anything. And I was even on the news for EB Games, and they never did that to me. Wow,
That's
congrats.
kind of alarming too. I was just going to say it.
Anyway, so what are my thoughts on this game? So first off, man, this game is like visually just an insane treat. Like this is, I have to say it, you know, games that are developed for PS5 are going to be different to games that are developed for PS4 and PS5. And this is such a proof point of that. This game takes insane advantage of the SSD that the PlayStation 4 has. And I actually think, like, you know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, next gen, you already get that with PC. But I don't think that's true. I don't think anyone who builds PC games is assuming you have an insane quick SSD such that will just blast you through different environments that cause you to have to load heaps of data so quickly and take full advantage of that. I don't think any PC game is built like that because you can't assume someone is running like an SSD that can run the kind of bandwidth that the PS5 is running. So first off, just like the game visually looks insane. And honestly, like, you know, as a baby, for me, it's like the game is almost like too much at times. Like I started playing it and I didn't stop playing it for like 3 hours or something like that. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm like overloaded. Like the game almost has no breaks. Like you start playing and it's just like bang, bang, bang. Like cinematic sequence blurs straight into gameplay. Just stuff is pumping all the time. The rift mechanic, while being, in my view, a little bit gimmicky, is super cool the way it works and the way it looks. Like when you're actually playing it and ripping through into other worlds or just into like the small rifts in the level, it's just something that you play and see and you're like, I've never seen anything like this in a game. Like it genuinely is like a next gen type of thing. Like it's probably the only game on the PS5 where I'm just like, it's impossible to port this back to the PS4. I'm sure Sony was asking Insomniac, how can we get this on the PS4? But yeah, you just absolutely cannot. And yeah, like just, it's got all the classic Ratchet and Clank stuff of like a huge amount of weaponry, the ability to upgrade, skill trees, all this other kind of stuff, which is really, really cool. But one thing I think they've done really, really well with this game is, for me as a new player, I can see that what they're trying to do is create a dynamic where if you're new to the series, you don't feel like, oh my God, I've missed like 5 games and I have no clue about what these characters are. Because the rift mechanic and the idea of sort of alternate dimensions causes a situation where, say, Ratchet will go into another dimension, meet characters that he's familiar with in his dimension. So as is like, people who are longstanding fans of the series, they see that character and they go, oh, it's that blah, blah character. Oh, I know that character really well. But it's actually a different style because it's an alternate dimension, right? So it creates a dynamic where, oh, you're sort of learning that character as well. But if you already know the character, you know other information, but they sort of introduce it almost fresh for every single character because they're sort of just meeting each other for the first time in a way. Like very kind of like, I don't know if it's almost like that just emerged from the idea that they must have had around having a rift mechanic and going through dimensions. And then it's almost like a positive side effect of doing that. They're like, oh, great. From a narrative point of view, this helps us a lot with new players like me in the Ratchet and Clank universe. As I said, I'm like about 3 hours into the game. I think looking at the trophies and all that kind of stuff, probably about 20% through the story. It's actually a really cool game. Like it's a game that, and I rarely would do this. I'd be like, oh, you know what? I might try to even platinum this game. Like I'm just really enjoying it. It's super colorful, super bright. And I have to say, after, beating Dark Souls, playing all these games that are really hard, there is something, and I could imagine if I played Returnal, there is something just nice about playing a game that you're not dying that often. And I think when you die, you lose like 1 bolt. And you have like 5,000 because you just collect them so easily. Like it's basically no penalty, which honestly I think it's fine. And there's stacks of like accessibility features. So you can make the game way harder, way easier, turn things off and on. Like, yeah, Insomniac are just absolutely dominating from a PlayStation Studio perspective. They're really carrying the first year of the PlayStation 5 with Miles Morales and now Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So, no, really love this game. It's really cool so far. Hoping to beat it soon.
Hoping
and then
to borrow it off you when you finish.
And then, yeah, like I'd probably do a review, and probably not next week just because, all the E3 stuff. We'll see how we go. But maybe the week after I'll do a review of the game.
Mm-hmm. Everything I've heard this week about people talking about this game, it sounds like they've just absolutely nailed it. And it seems like almost like a front runner for Game of the Year at this point.
I think it's almost a lock for the top 6. Because I'm just thinking about like the pipeline of games this year as well. I think it just fills a spot that I would normally put like a Mario Odyssey or something along those lines.
Can you save it for 2031 when we're doing GOSO of 2021? Just talk about it then, please.
Yeah, I think this game, I think Returnal is a real good chance of being in the top 6, just from everything I'm hearing from people. And it's almost a slow burn for a lot of people as well. For me, we don't really do scores and stuff like that. To me, it's like, it feels like a solid like 9 out of 10 so far. There's just something about it that it doesn't have. It has so much polish. I cannot explain how much polish this game has. But having said that, there's maybe something about it that's just, it just doesn't quite hit those heights for me of being like something like a 10 out of 10 game. But like, I'm very clear like this is an amazing game, right? Like, and it's an awesome game. It feels like a must have if you've got a PS5. It's just, it just shows off the tech, man. And honestly, I'm not like being, facetious about this. Like I genuinely think people haven't made a game like this on the PC because of the SSD. It's actually quite almost exhausting the way the tech works of pulling through other dimensions and stuff like that because there's just no load screens. And I'm just not used to it. I'm not used to just being able to go, okay, we're into another world. Oh, now we're in a dinosaur type planet. Oh, now we're in like a space and sci-fi type setting. It's like I was almost like overloaded with the colors and the dynamic nature of the game. And it uses great like features around the dual sense, like the vibration and everything, because it's all been built from scratch with that. The one thing I will say is that is starting to kind of annoy me a little bit. And I've never been a fan of this because I'm maybe just not that good of a gamer, but when games do the whole thing of like, you know, you pull the trigger a little bit and it's one function, you pull it all the way through, it's a different function. This game uses that a lot. Yeah,
Returnal did that too.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It takes a little bit to get used to.
Yeah.
Because instinctively you're just like...
Correct. And then also if you're in a like a, oh shit moment, you're like just bang, pull it like, and maybe that's not what I wanted to do. It's not a huge penalty. It's just, like I'm not the biggest fan of how that works.
What you mean, yeah. So it sounds like the game has a lot of polish, not a lot of Romanian, not a lot of Hungarian.
Okay, you say that, which is really weird that you said that. I went into the options because I needed to turn the subtitles on, right? And the first option, I don't know if it's like a bug or my copy or what. The first option is like turn on Croatian subtitles. I was like, what?
Interesting.
Why is this the first option?
The only thing I can think of is it's the first language on the list. Because I'm assuming Albanian is probably not as popular.
But it doesn't work like that. It's not like the next one is Polish. It's only Croatian. And then the next line is turn on subtitles. It was something like turn on Croatian text. And I was like,
I don't know.
Huh? Like what? Like, is this some weird PS5 thing?
See what it's like.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, and I may not be able to get out of it. It's a really cool game, Mike. I know that you're doing your whole, not buying any games, but it is a shame because I think you'd enjoy this game.
Can I borrow it? Legit.
I mean, Sydney, you're in Melbourne. How's that going to work?
I'll pay for postage.
Loophole. I'm
not buying the game. I'm just paying postage for something.
First of all, that is not a resolution. We're not holding you to you're not buying games. That's just...
It's self-imposed resolution.
Yes, your self-imposed resolution.
I think you should break it for this. This is a good game.
Nah, I don't know. No. Because look, anyway, we'll talk about it aside. I think it's a good opportunity to finally focus on my backlog. There's a lot of really good games I've missed out on.
Sure. And,
Mike, did you even have Mass Effect Legendary Edition?
Yeah, I have it.
You should be playing that.
I know, I should be. Well, I did. I started playing it. But
then you stopped?
Again, there's just so much stuff to play. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Because I bought so many games on special, I never got around to it. I've got Metro Exodus on Xbox, the Aurora Edition, and I have it on PC as well, and haven't even touched it. So
I'm pretty sure that was free on Epic Games.
Maybe that's how I got it.
That's why I'm also trying not to buy games too much if I'm not about to play them, because you buy a game and then it ends up being free anyway, like
exactly
half a year later. So anyway,
we're digressing.
Very
Ratchet
cool
Clank
game.
sounds really cool.
Yeah,
I'm actually
awesome.
looking forward to playing this one. It's a shame. I feel like I can't get it, but it looks amazing.
And I'd highly recommend it as a chaser to if you're playing a lot of tough games like Returnal or Dark Souls or Bloodborne or whatever. Like it's nice to just play a game. It feels like a video game. I know it sounds dumb to say that, but it feels like a big blockbuster popcorn video game. And you sometimes just need those. You don't need these like insane games all the time.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final feature for the show. Game Builder Garage. So this is the final game that you're allowed to buy for 2021.
It's not a game. Okay.
Sure.
It's a piece of software. It's a development toolkit. It is not a game. In case my girlfriend's listening, it is not a game. And actually, all jokes aside, it isn't really a game.
Well, having it, and I don't know how much time you've spent with it. I probably spent maybe 4 hours with it.
Okay, you spent quite a bit more.
It is completely not a game.
No, it's not.
Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2 and Minecraft, they're all games, but they have elements of being game makers. But there are gaming elements. Like if you just want to play, you can do that. This is not that. This is really a game maker. Like it is not fun if you just want to play.
It Game Builder Garage.
Yeah, Game Builder Garage, exactly. So the game starts out, you can't build what you want when you first open it. You have to do the tutorial. So you have to do the first intro and then the first proper tutorial, and then the game unlocks at that stage. Are you up to that stage, Mike?
Yeah, I'm up to that stage.
Yeah.
So I did that. I did the very first intro. I didn't do the Alice part of the one that you have to do as a mandatory, and then I did free creation for a little bit as well.
Yeah. And man, the tools are just like incredible. Like I'm actually like blown away at how cool the tools are.
Yeah.
Like,
and the way they've used characters, and each character has a different personality, which is fantastic. Even the way they talk, and it's very consistent. As in the camera one always says "darling." It's brilliant the way they've done that. It just makes it so much easier to learn.
Yeah, and just the way the mechanics, like we should probably point it out, the way the mechanics work for this game, it's kind of important to know. So you can build your own games. There's like a huge limit on like, you know, how many games you can have. I think it's 64 from memory. I couldn't imagine hitting that realistically because, you know, it's quite a lot of work to pull something realistic and good together. The other thing is, you know, there's little elements that you're talking about. So it might be a nodon, which is a constant. So it just spits out a generic number that you pick. There's a limit on how many you can have. So it's 512 in any game that you build. And then the connections between those nodons there's 1024, which is important because it kind of means, you know, even if someone wanted to go insane and pull something like crazy together, there are like genuine limitations on what you could do, right? Like it's not just a complete free for all. But it is like insane to see what some people have done with it, like even with these limitations. Like, and this is like day one. So I can't imagine what people have done in like day two. But being Nintendo, like they have insane polish in this game. Like it's what you're saying. Like if you leave the screen for a little bit, the little nodons will go beep, 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 like just in the background. Like it's just, it is that Nintendo charm that everyone tries to replicate. And like honestly, like they just don't always do it, right? And it's just like, man, this game just blows me away. Like
very cool.
How well it's polished that way.
With those limitations, it's also very possible that at some point Nintendo updates that because they did with Mario Maker 2.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might want to see what people build and like what it all means. So
the only thing I want to know, so you obviously got much further than I did. What I'm curious with here we go. It was actually just on screen right now. So what are the limitations that you've seen so far with the characters you can design? Because I only played around with, you know, the existing player, which is very fixed, which the one that you can see on the screen right now. It's just a standard. You can change the color and that's about it. And you can change some of the physics as in with the controller, how high they can jump, the slight momentum they have, those kind of things. But the player itself, the character, the model is fixed. So you played around, I think, with creating your own little drawings and stuff, right? Because I haven't gotten to that part. So you can do all that kind of stuff to effectively. Could you replicate, for example, could you remake Mario in this? Like the first level of Mario by creating your own sprites?
I think the thing is that people are like, it's day one. And the thing that I kind of love about the game is that people are doing stuff and the engine, and it's almost like people are discovering. And I had this experience, and I will touch on it a little bit later. Like, you kind of have this experience where it's like, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? How does that work? Like, you know, how do you get what you want out of the game to like create stuff? Like, it's really cool. I'll show you like a quick example of just like, you know, people are, you know, just starting out in this game, but they're pulling together stuff like this. This is like built with Game Maker Garage.
Holy moly.
Game Builder Garage. I always say Game Maker.
Quake.
Yeah, no, it's Doom Eternal. So I've played this as well.
That's awesome.
You can actually like dash in it and jump and dash and then double jump and stuff like that.
That's nuts.
It's just insane what people are doing. So people are working out, if you attach this or attach that. So that's Mr. Tiffles. We should shout out to that person. Then you can like do certain things. And one thing I wanted to show you guys was that, you know, in terms of the community, because you can't actually share your games directly within the game.
I'm hoping you can later, but yeah.
I don't think they want to do that because it's just, you know, the freedom you have. You can draw your own textures. You can put the textures on the models. So going back to what you're saying.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
You can draw kind of anything in this game.
Yeah.
The kind of amount of curation they need, and given that what happened with like Smash Brothers, I'm sure they don't want to replicate that.
Just allow the dicks. Allow the dicks and everything's fine.
Nintendo would never want to do that.
Honestly, once you do it, you get it out of your system. Then you move on to developing real things. It happens all the time.
My favorite thing with Smash Brothers was you're like, okay, that doesn't look too bad. I'll download that, and then suddenly the level will start, and the thing will drop, and you've got this naked anime lady.
Yeah, that's right. Because they did that because otherwise the thumbnail would show it. Yes, so people who are reviewing it, it's awesome. Yeah, but people are pulling together these games, and
this is a Flappy Bird already. Wow.
Yeah, and it actually plays pretty well. So this is GameGarage.games. MyGarage.games.
Yeah.
And this is an awesome little site that people
project site, right? It's not a real official site, is it?
And it's awesome, man. Like you've got like a little community on Discord. There's already over 1,000 people in the Discord channel just around the server, just around Game Builder Garage, and people kind of sharing tricks like, how do you do this? Or if I want to attach this, like people, because the game doesn't tell you. Like there's all the tutorials, but stuff like you can attach a camera to the character model. And then what that means is as you move the character, the camera moves with it. But the game doesn't tell you how to do that, but it is inbuilt in the game. And it has like lots of weird things where you have sensors for a character. It will then pull out the angle the character's on. So you can kind of build AI because the character, like the AI character, let's just say, can go, oh, the angle between me and you is this. So I need to correct my course and then keep moving. So it's just like, there's so much shit in this game that's so cool.
You see the screenshot there for Nintendo's garage
Yeah.
where the dog was
So
going
cool.
and running, picking up the ball that you were throwing.
Yeah.
That was actually really impressive for like a day one application of
massively.
that stuff. I was like, wow, you can actually do this stuff.
And there I was just doing a character jumping up and down the screen, and I couldn't even figure out how to get background music to work.
So for
And I've got
me,
a computer science degree. Oh my God.
so for me, what I did was, because, as a big Rocket League fan, I published my game, Pocket League, a Rocket League clone. I don't have the video of it. Yeah. And you can see here that you can actually...
Awesome.
And all of these cars are controllable by, 4 controllers. And if you hit one of the goals, then the game resets. And you can have a counter and all this other kind of stuff.
So
And a delay and a reset.
Because you were kind enough to put the link in there, I've had a good long look at this for this morning. And in your description saying that, and to complete a certain resolution, if this was an official Nintendo site, I think you'd have a lot more weight. This is the equivalent of publishing a game by putting a code on Twitter.
No, this is you have to get it approved. You have to submit it. You have to have a logo.
So it's like getting it greenlit on Steam, sort of.
No, because that's an official channel.
What do you reckon, Mike? Is this? Have I published a game for 2021?
Look, I reckon he has.
Yes, one of the
I reckon he
resolutions
has.
is done.
Now, to be fair,
Mike,
Swinny, I'm slightly biased because I intend to do the same thing.
Yeah, no, but Mike, yours is different because it's not publishing.
No, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3.
You were so whipped. You know why? Because Integot.
So whipped.
Tell my girlfriend that.
You're whipped by Integot. Integot is always on your ass about your resolutions, and you're here defending this crappy friggin' shortcut.
Crappy. You haven't even played it. It's actually pretty decent.
No, I'm not talking about the game. I'm saying this crappy shortcut
it's
to
not a
the
shortcut.
resolution.
I never said I have to publish it to make money or anything. I just said I have to publish it. This is a publishing place.
Can you do it?
This is the same.
Okay,
like
hang on. Swinny.
Make your game in Mario Maker.
Swinny, what if he makes a 3D version of this that more closely...
3D.
No, as in not top down. I'm talking about like a proper replicating the look of actual Rocket League in 3D.
I could do that straight away. I could just flip it.
I'm not talking about the game. I haven't played it. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying
so it is a game, would you say?
He did let that slip.
No, but I'm saying that... No, of course it's a game. I'm saying to publish it, to say at the bottom... MyGarage.games is a free platform by the community and no way affiliated with Nintendo. You've not published this game.
What does that mean? That's got nothing to do with it.
Okay, integot. What if I make a new company called Mike's Publishing.
Why
And I publish it because I need to also do the same thing.
I love it. This hack.
I need for it to count so I could say I published
You
it.
guys,
There's even
you
someone
guys
who's
do-
there's
do
even someone who's
whatever the hell-
reviewed it and said
do
nice.
the hell. No, that's cool. Do whatever the hell you want. Clearly, you're just going to do it anyway.
Look at
Yes.
that. I have to say, it was so
You
fun
still
making
failed.
this.
You still failed one of your resolutions, anyways.
Who, me?
No,
How?
he admitted to failing one of his resolutions.
Oh,
He
that's
did,
because
yeah.
I pulled
But no,
my
I
back.
didn't.
So I'm not sure what I could do there.
but it's still a fail.
Oh, look at this.
If you're going to count this as a win, I'm going to count that as a fail.
I certainly didn't. In fact, I doubled down on my resolution of not just buying less games, but literally buying none at all.
Mike, I agree. I've defended you. I've defended you. He's attacked you, and here you are defending this crap.
That's true. This is the menage a trois relationship we have between us.
Sorry, do not use that word.
But it, like this, just even making this little game and publishing it on this platform, it was like really cool in terms of, you know, I was trying to work out weird things with it. So like the game, you have a car, so that's like you can put that into the game, and you have three things you can do. It's accelerate, you can steer, and there's one other thing that I'm trying to think what the car does. I can't recall what it is.
Can you jump?
Yes, jump. So the only thing is I was like, oh, accelerate, and like, great. I'm like, how am I going to do that where I want it to be like the trigger, you know, just like in Rocket League, and then like like another button to go reverse or brake. And what you do in the game is you put those node-ons, those like button node-ons in, and they produce a 1, like when you press them. So what I did was I put those node-ons in, then there's another node-on, which is a calculator, and I did subtract. So I did, if I'm pressing like just say ZR to accelerate, that's a 1. If I'm pressing R, which is like brake or reverse, I'm minusing that. So what it means is when I press R, it will produce a -1 number out of the calculator. Then I fed that straight into the accelerate, decelerate, you know, connecting point on the car node-on, and then it would work. It was crazy. I'm just like, there's so many like little things in this game that's just, it gives you that moment of like delight of going, oh, cool, I've worked this out. I've worked this like funny thing out on how to actually
That is so
make this
cool.
work.
Wow. Because a game that doesn't tell you that at all.
No.
That's the cool thing about it.
No.
So the experience / toolkit doesn't tell you that at all.
Yeah. I must admit, even just pulling this game together and publishing it on this platform, it's like, it kind of made the game worth it already because it was just really fun experience. Like, I feel like I won't forget, like, oh, it was like really like awesome and different. Like, you know, it's not something you'd normally do every day. So I'm a huge fan of this, this game maker, whatever you want to call it. I think it's like a bit too advanced for kids, but I can imagine like if you're like an 8-year-old, like, and maybe above, like, it would be amazing.
Because this is what I'm wondering as well, because my girlfriend, when she saw a preview for it and I said I was excited about getting it, she said, it looks like it's made for kids. And I'm like, I don't know. To be honest, I actually don't know. It's a G. It says G on the cover. I think it's for everyone. I'm with you. I feel it's a bit more, well, quite a bit more advanced than Scratch. And Scratch, I think, is taught to 7 and 8-year-olds, maybe even around that age. I don't know. She teaches Scratch to kids. So I feel it's someone around that age would be able to pick it up. And I would actually love to see kids that age do some of this stuff and the stuff that they come up with. Swinny?
Yeah, I'm still like shocked when I see my 7-year-old nephew and that sitting there doing pretty complicated stuff in Minecraft. You know, so I think that there's a good chance that if a kid sits down and spends a bit of time and is shown the basics and everything, that be able to it's
Because
all
they
like
experiment.
learning. Yeah, it's
they
all
play
learning.
with
Like
stuff. Yeah,
they'll do something simple and then they might not ever do any of the advanced stuff, but it's just like okay. Oh, and then we add that thing over there that you can collect or you can jump through, and then I wouldn't sell them too short with that stuff.
No, neither. I reckon it actually would. I mean, look, it's G obviously for a reason. It's for everyone. And they're not going to put minimum age on
content.
it. That's a bit stupid. Exactly.
Not
but I actually think, so my niece, I'll just keep calling her that. I will encourage her parents to get to get her a copy of this. I think it'll be brilliant. Because I got her the Switch. She loved Minecraft, and I think this is a whole new level of learning and playing around and doing stuff. I think she'll love it.
The only thing I'd say is, and this makes me sad, I feel like this game is going to get buried.
Oh, hope not.
I really think it will. Like, I think Nintendo is not even really on socials, because I follow them pretty closely, obviously, with, maybe Switch Pro coming up and everything like that. They're just not really talking about it that much. There's not much marketing behind it. Even when I went into EB, they were like, oh, what is this game? Like, they didn't really know what it was. And
Did they even have copies of it?
They didn't even have copies of it.
JB had a ton. I got it from JB, and they had a ton of copies. It was really weird.
Yeah, so it's like the equivalent of GameStop in the States. It's like I pre-ordered it, and they were just like, oh, we don't have it. We don't have it in stock yet.
Weird.
And another store did. So I don't know. And even like JB, they only had 2 copies of it, like in my area. And it felt like no one else was interested in it.
A ton of copies.
Yeah.
There were a lot on the shelf. And then when I went to the back, I took one of the cases, and there was just a stack of brand new copies. They're all open, though. It's really weird. Some games are shrink wrapped from Nintendo. Some aren't. I don't get the logic. Yeah. Maybe it depends who publishes them. Quick question, Swinny. Are you at all keen on getting this and experimenting and sharing some of your creations with us?
No. Damn. Sounds cool, but it's not for me. I prefer something like your Mario Maker or something like that. Just because I like kind of the idea of a like consistent mechanic thing with that kind of tool.
Okay.
This stuff has just never really interested me. Even when you go back to like RPG Maker, there's consistency there, and it's kind of like, okay, I like working in this framework as opposed to I like working with almost zero framework, So.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you have it in your mind that you're going to make a 2D platformer, it's got the framework to make a 2D platformer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but
But I know what you mean. It's
I'm
not
making. I prefer.
It's very open ended.
I prefer tools that are more focused.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, totally get you.
Yeah, it is much more open in that way, and I just genuinely think it's a really cool way to learn the fundamentals of programming. Because without like any programming at all, there's no.
Yeah, I know, because they call it programming, but I'm looking at it going, this isn't really.
It is programming.
It's programming, but it's. Well, it is. It's just it uses a visual language as opposed to a code-based character language.
Which is not like the funny thing is with Unreal Engine, that actually has visual structures
that's
that you just drag and drop using nodes. Exact same kind of like ideas. Yeah. Just obviously
you just get down underneath as well.
Yeah, you can look at the C++ code if you want. Whereas this you can't. But I just think I think probably for me, pulling things together, I was fortunate because, I got a programming background like you, that you understand the fundamentals of what you need to do. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it was very easy for me to go, okay, I need to do this and that. I've even seen some people go, it's limited because it only has like an AND gate and a NOT gate. But I'm kind of like, no, well, you can just you can just use an AND gate and a NOT gate to make anything. So it's like there's just like a lot of stuff that people, I guess, they don't know. And it makes it harder. It'd be nice if they just had an OR gate. It seems weird that they limited that.
Did you try mouse support?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. So, because I got into making this game and I'm like, look at this. I'll be able to complete my resolution. Sweet. And yeah, I plugged in my Bluetooth mouse and it actually worked. And it was like, you pretty much do everything. You could spin the wheel, like the scroll wheel, and it would actually go in and out of the screen. Like, it was actually insane, like, when I was doing it.
Wow. Does it make it heaps easier to build stuff with?
I think because this is Bluetooth, it was a bit laggy, so I never tested it with a fixed mouse. Definitely on my Bluetooth mouse, it was slightly laggy, but I kept using it, so that just shows it does feel better. Okay. It actually made me go, because Swinny, with Super Mario Maker 2, you can't use a mouse, right?
No.
Yeah. That would, it would be so good if they could do that.
The thing with that, though, is you'd constantly have to swap back to controller all the time to test anyway.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you do in this one as well. But.
But I actually had a controller in my hand, like when I was doing stuff, like a controller and a mouse, if you could imagine. And I found that to be really like useful. Like you're just flipping through and everything like that. I really love this. I'm not saying that I'm going to spend like hundreds of hours doing this kind of stuff, but like as a quick prototyping tool, it's actually pretty damn sick. Like to give like a bit of a perspective on like what you want to do and how you want to do it. So, and it feels like you can make it really basic, like I did with Pocket League, but you can then go like another level beyond. Like I was looking at it going, oh, I think I could do these 3 things and then essentially make it. I can select, do I want to have 1 player versus AI, or do I want to have 2 players or 4 players? Like I already started to think through, okay, this is how you would do that. So it's pretty cool in that way, actually. Like, you know, you can go a lot deeper and make something a lot more robust. And maybe I'll go back and revisit. We'll see how we go. So was there anything else?
I'm sure.
Was there anything else you wanted to flag?
No, I'm just looking forward to spending more time with it today after this.
Well, you could play my game. But you need 4 players, so good luck.
Can you edit other? You can't edit other people's games, can you?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, so
it's
pretty cool.
Maybe you need to figure out how to add some AI to it.
Yeah.
Well, I was building the AI, and then I thought, well, I'm going to spend 2 hours on this, and I should probably prioritize sleeping, given that we're going to wake up and do the streams and everything like that. So, I mean, speaking of which, just to wrap up this episode. Check us out if you have heard this episode. We are going to do a reaction stream to the Microsoft and Bethesda stream, which is going to be the 14th to 3 a.m. our time. And then also with the Nintendo Direct, which is on the 16th from memory. I'm just double checking that. Yeah, 16th our time, 2 a.m. We'll be doing a live reaction on Twitch. So yeah, it'll be twitch.tv/bigwigpod. And then we'll upload the reaction onto our YouTube channel. But with that, bye-bye.
Adios.
See ya.